So great to see you all here. And yeah, quite a few people. I see someone from Srinagar, Kerala, right? Someone is dialing in from LA. Harsh, great to see you all here. And yeah, so basically people from all over the country. So really wide variety of people. Keep your responses coming in. We are going to discuss a very interesting topic today, which is about leading in the future, right? The world of business is extremely volatile. We know COVID caused a massive disruption in 2020 and 2021. 2022, there are projections of something happening as well. There's a war in Europe. So there's just so much happening across the world. And we are going to today talk about leading in this future of work, right? Which is extremely dynamic, extremely volatile, extremely uncertain, and changing very, very rapidly. So we are going to discuss this very interesting topic. But those of you who are already in this room right now, I'm still waiting for the rest to join. We had over 700 registrations. I'm expecting another 100 people to come into this room today. We're already 150 plus. So please let us know the city you're dialing in from. And in the meanwhile, I am going to run my first poll for the evening. So you would see that going live on your screens in just about a second. Great. So if you can see on your screen, the first poll for the evening is live. This is about your most preferred destination for higher studies. So are you looking to pursue your higher studies in Asia? You're looking to study in Middle East, Europe, North America. So if you have any geographical preferences, do let us know. If you're indifferent or you don't know where you want to go, then it could be other as an option. But if you have any preferred destination, do let us know your most preferred destination for further studies. Okay. I have around 45 responses come in. I'm going to wait for another 10-20 seconds for people to respond. And the data is going to be very surprising. I am extremely and pleasantly surprised to look at the data. And I will share these results. I will show you what is the most preferred destination for our audience today. But those of you who can see the poll live right now, do let us know which is your most preferred destination for pursuing higher studies. Okay, I have around 60 responses. I'm going to wait to get 75 responses before I end this poll, so another 10-15 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded, or those of you who have dialed in from your cell phone, you can click on the options on your phone. You'll be able to see polls as one of the options. And over there, you'll be able to respond to this poll, which is about your preferred destination for higher studies. Those of you have already responded, right? If through the chat box, you can let us know your reasons, right? If you're preferring to study in North America, then let us know why North America. If you're preferring to study in Europe, then why Europe, right? If you have any thoughts around that, then you can also let us know your comments in the chat box about which is your most preferred destination and why do you prefer studying over there. It's always great to see, get a feel of the audience and understand what is most interesting for them. And I have the 75 responses come in. So I'm going to end this poll now and share the results. Great. So if you're able to see the screen, the poll results on your screen right now, around 50%, so 49% of our audience are looking to pursue their higher studies in Europe, which is extremely apt and relevant because we are discussing and speaking with a European school today. So extremely high intent over there, followed by North America, which is 18%, 18% in Asia. So I'm assuming a lot of you are looking at Hong Kong, Singapore, India as well. Some of you are looking at Middle East, and some of you are looking at other as an option. So maybe undecided or looking at other options as well. So extremely insightful data over there. And with that, let me start with the introduction. So my name is Sanjay Dhingra. I'm a director and co-founder at Seed Global Education. We are a higher education firm that connects top universities with prospective candidates like yourself. So we bring both parties together so that you get to know each other, understand about the unique offerings from each school, each university, and then take informed decision about your higher education opportunities and choices. A little bit about myself. I'm an ex-admissions professional myself. I ran admissions for the Indian School of Business, more commonly known as ISB or ISB Hyderabad in India. So I ran admissions for ISB for 4 years, ran admissions for Schulich for 2 years. And since 2020, we co-founded Seed Global Education, which connects, as I said, connects candidates like yourself with some of the top universities. Our university today is the Bocconi University, SDA Bocconi School of Management based in Milan, Italy. I have their career services team people available. I have their alumni available, and I have someone from the admissions department as well available. So I have Francisca D. Agostino, who is from the career services team at Bocconi. She is employer relations and engagement manager over there, works with a lot of candidates at Bocconi to decide or guide them on their career journey. I have Aditya and Siddhant who are alumni. So Aditya was a full-time Bocconi student. Siddhant actually was a SRD student who did his exchange program at Bocconi. So he's got experience of a Spanish plus an Italian school that way. And I have Veronica Sulu from their admissions team who will talk to us about the various programs at Bocconi and hear the various opportunities available for you. But first, let me invite Francisca to talk about leading in the future of work, right? As I mentioned earlier, the workspace is very dynamic. It's changing rapidly. Till 2 years ago, we used to go into office every day. I used to go to office 5 days a week, and now I haven't stepped into an office even 10 days in the last 2 years now. It's work from home, it's hybrid. There are just so many changes happening. There's the COVID wave fears, and things are just evolving very, very rapidly at the place of work. And this is challenging for both employers and candidates, right? How do you build for employers? How do you build that bonding amongst your employees? How do you get build that feeling of teamwork in your employees amongst your new joinees? And for employees or prospective employees like you, how do you meander? How do you navigate this complicated environment and be prepared to lead in the future? So I'm going to invite Francisca to talk to us about leading in the future of work and talk about how Bocconi prepares its students to take on such challenging environments. With that, over to you, Francisca.
Thank you so much for your great introduction. It is a pleasure to be here today. I'm very, very happy and excited to be able to speak to you all about these very, very important topics. And it's very, very interesting to see the variety of places that you are all coming from. So thank you so much for having me. And I would like to share my screen in order to introduce to you some hints and some tips on how to, start going through the future of work as was the topic that was mentioned. So here we are. I hope you can.
Yes, we can.
You can see it. Okay, yes. Let me go presentation mode. Okay, so that's it. So these are just some hints that I can give you from a career service perspective, of course. I mean, there are lots of different feelings that we can have to the future of the work environment, of the job market. But as, of course, was mentioned, what really makes the difference is that the work environment, the job market is continuously evolving. So let me give you just a brief idea of who I am. So who am I and what do I do at Bocconi? So basically I am employer relations account. I am corporate relations manager for the SEMS program at Bocconi, which is one of our longest standing international networks that Bocconi has signed up for over 30 years ago. I'm located in Milan, in Italy, of course, where Bocconi campus is. I am now in the office today, and you can see a background which is much nicer than the blank wall that I have behind myself, and that's one of the Bocconi buildings. So who am I? I'm Italian, but I grew up in 3 different countries thanks to my dad's job, and this has allowed me to have an international outlook on my life in general. And I am a Bocconi graduate, so this is basically what really describes me from a, let's say, professional point of view. And what the international outlook I have comes, of course, from all of the experiences I've had both as a young person and now as a professional. I enjoy traveling. I travel for work. I mean, I used to. I hope to get back to traveling for work soon. And of course, I also am a person with a family. I have 2 kids. I love to cook. Some say that I'm very good at cooking. My kids don't appreciate it too much, unfortunately, though. And I love dancing. So this is what I do in my spare time. I cook and I dance. So let's go on to the focus of our seminar, of our webinar today. So major changes. Yes. So basically, as we know, the job market is constantly evolving. But over the last few years, we have had 2 major disruptive events. Well, one major disruptive event, and now we're facing another event that is, of course, also going to change our perspective. So basically, COVID-19 is the main accelerator of the changes in the job market and in the job environment. Because of course, as you know, the big changes that COVID-19 has brought have been global. and have deeply accelerated the use of some things that I will go into detail later on. On top of that, of course, we are now facing in Europe an international crisis, which is very serious, of course. And I think it's very important to mention it. I do hope it will be solved as soon as possible with peace. This is what we all, of course, want. But of course, it may also have some implications in terms of job market, in terms of migration, in terms of changes in the workforce. But let's focus on something that we have grown to understand better, which is the disruption that COVID-19 has brought. So COVID-19, what it really meant? It meant lockdown. So it meant, as we were saying beforehand, people basically had to stay home and work from home. So what has this brought? Okay, on one side, of course, it has reduced social interaction and it has reduced mobility. I mean, it has limited mobility for a few months. People were not at all able to leave their houses, basically, throughout the world. Okay, so this is what has happened, but what have we seen in terms of, let's say, increase? So increase has been in technology, increase in the use of technology. So we have to accelerate that technological switch in order to allow everyone to be able to work effectively from home. This has brought new opportunities. This has brought, for example, the possibility of doing virtual exchange programs. This is something we have experienced at Bocconi, really challenging, but it really has worked out. This has also allowed some students to do work experiences in other countries, in other locations from their home. Think of the implication this can have on international mobility in terms of, I need a visa to go into that country, but the company is allowing me to do an internship remotely. That's great. I have the chance to interact with an international context, but I am staying at home and I do not have to worry about other matters that may, of course, hinder my possibility to travel. In general, what has this meant? This has meant that flexibility has increased a lot. And of course, what have we learned? We've learned to be resilient. This is a very important keyword. So resilience has increased enormously. Of course, this situation, this disruption has caused some effects. First of all, it has relevant psychological impacts. I'm not able to, of course, discuss about this, but you know that there are many studies going on psychological impacts that this has had. And what I wanted to focus on with you today is the fact that before COVID, we would hear a lot about work-life balance. I mean, work-life balance is very important. I want to find a job that will allow me to have a good work-life balance, and employers would be very, very focused on this. But of course, we have to appreciate the fact that during COVID-19 and during lockdown, there was a major work-life imbalance for many of us. So that's something we have to come to terms with. This situation, of course, has created a lot of attention to what really matters. This is very important. This is a key aspect of the big changes that we are having in the job market. You probably have heard about the Great Resignation that people are facing in some countries. So what does this mean? This means that people are really focusing on and more, and the new generations, and of course you are going to be very worried about finding and doing something that can allow you to really make an impact and really be satisfied and pay attention to what really matters to you. So let's say this is the context that we are all facing right now. I would like to focus on the workforce of the future. So these are some keywords that I would like you to see. So basically, you may have heard of a skills mismatch. What does it mean? So the accelerated push into changes in the way we work have accelerated the change of the job profiles that employers are actually now needing. So basically, what's happening is that those job profiles that that used to have certain characteristics are no longer that. So basically, people that were doing a certain type of job are now necessarily need to be trained. So of course, this means that job profiles that are constantly changing keep on having more and more non-routine tasks, and of course the need that we all have and the requirement for all people entering the job market is to cover somehow the skills mismatch that we have in the people that are now in the job profiles that are now available in companies. So I would like to go into a little more detail in order to let you understand what we really mean by the skills that are now needed, that are going to be needed for the new workforce and for the new work environment. So I would like to test ourselves on some of the skills that you feel that will be actually needed in the future. So my suggestion, if you want to go ahead with it, is to scan the QR code with your mobile phones if you have them at hand. And of course, you can skip the sign in, you can just answer the questions. And the question is, what are the main set of skills that will be needed in the future? So is it the digital skills? Is it the soft skills? Or is it those that we call the social and emotional skills? So I'll give you a few minutes to answer this question, and then I would like to go and check the answers with you. So let me check. Yeah, I will leave you a few more minutes to answer. Let me see if there are some questions. Okay. So I'm not. Can you see the screen with the answers coming up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you. I can see answers are still coming in. So they're moving. Okay, this is very, very interesting. Okay, so I'll leave you, let's say, okay, so things are slightly changing. There's basically, okay. So I would say, thank you so much for your, for the answer to this very short survey. Thank you so much for participating, and let me go into the correct answer. Okay, so we basically have a split: 30%, 30%, and 30%. So let's see who's right. Let me see. They are all essential. You're perfectly right. So basically, of course, what we know today is that it is absolutely necessary that in order to have success in any type of job, you really need to have these 3 sets of skills. So let me go into a little bit more detail. So let me describe just very briefly what they are. So by digital skills, we mean advanced IT, programming, digital and data analytics skills. By soft skills, we mean those that are connected to critical thinking, communication and negotiation, entrepreneurship and innovation, resilience and flexibility. These are all keywords that we saw beforehand. And finally, what do we mean by social and emotional skills? We mean empathy, self-awareness, respect for others, and the ability to communicate in general. So of course, this is something that is a bit disruptive compared to what we are used to think of as required for job profiles, so for job roles. So why do we think these are essential? These are the key to economies that have these very, very important characteristics. Economies and societies that are to be more inclusive, fair, tolerant, and sustainable. And by sustainable, we mean sustainable in all terms, not just we're not just talking about the green transition, to give you an idea. So going on to what kind of implications this has for us. So what do we have to do? How can we help students and young people to actually obtain and learn these skills, okay, in order to find a job successfully? So it is, of course, very important for us as higher education institutions to strengthen teaching in the digital content of all of those programs that do not historically have a digital content, in order to reduce the skills mismatch. Just to give you an example, at Bocconi, we have we have a compulsory Python course for all courses. We've included a basic Python course for all courses for a few years now. This is one example of a very practical thing that universities can do. Then embed soft skills in curricula that are primarily technical. So on the other hand, if you're doing a very technical program, you really need to learn something about soft skills. And our responsibility is to include it in the curricula. Then, of course, foster transversal competencies. So we have to make sure that everyone is aware of the importance that transversal competencies have in the curricula. Finally, we have to use methodologies both in the teaching, and we have to, of course, allow students to gain learning methodologies that will improve your cognitive skills. And by cognitive skills, as I mentioned before, we mean the critical thinking, the complex problem solving, and the creative thinking that we really believe are necessary to be successful in the job market. An example in this case would be for the course that I account for as a career service counselor is international management. And of course, our students do a variety of group works, and of course, other students from other courses at Bocconi as well. But it is very important for us to increase and allow our students to work as much as they can in teams and do group works and business cases, and really this allows both on one side to adopt complex problem solving and creative thinking skills, but also to, engage in all the social and cognitive skills that we were actually talking about beforehand. So this is, let's say, something that we work on in general as a higher education institution. Then I would like to go into a little bit more detail into what we as career services do at Bocconi, for example. And this is basically our role. So our role is to allow students to arrive prepared for their job search and the work environment. So how do we do this? So we know that this is a path that has to be done in various steps. And this is a path that we start to do straight from the start. So basically what happens is that as soon as students enroll to a Master of Science program at Bocconi, they are assigned a career service account. As I was mentioning, I am an account for a specific Master of Science in International Management at Bocconi. So what we do is we try to identify a personalized path for each student, where each one of them can identify their own career goals, and they can develop the necessary tools in order to draw and to identify their career path. So basically, our aim is not only to allow students to tailor-make their academic program at Bocconi, but they can also tailor-make a career development plan as such. Of course, this is a career path is individual, is linked to the person, and therefore it is very important for each student to be able to do their steps in the right time and with their own career goals at hand, in their mind. Okay, so in general, if I just wanted to give you a few suggestions to students that are maybe searching now, maybe starting to think about their job search, is of course to start to learn as much as you can, to study about the job market, to study about the main players in the sectors, to learn about the type of opportunities, and to really use as much as you can professional social networks to learn about roles, to learn about positions, and to understand what the single companies and career opportunities available are at large for you and for the type of path that you're thinking of starting. So just to give you some ideas of what our career service does in very practical terms, I will share now a brief some figures basically that will let you identify the type of efforts that we make in terms of events and activities with students. So what do we really do? Okay, so this data refers to 2020. It was a very complicated year. So bear in mind that we really had to, it was a disruptive year, totally different from what we were expecting. But this is the kind of activities that we really managed to do very successfully. So we have over 1,100 internship and work opportunities promoted each year. Almost 1,000 of them are abroad, and they are offered by more than 2,000 employers. Then we organized 2020 multiple international sector-specific career fairs throughout the year. So they would be focused on different geographic areas, or they could be career fairs dedicated to specific sectors. So for example, we have recruiting dates dedicated to financial services and to luxury and beauty. So each student can actually attend the event that they are really motivated and interested in attending. So we have hosted more than 600 employers, and more than 10,000 students and graduates have actually attended these events. 2020, they were all done virtually. Then we have some employers, let's say the ones that we have a specific partnership with, that have organized tailor-made events, and almost 150 events were done over in 2020. On top of that, in order to allow our students to gain all of those skills that we talked of just beforehand, we have organized 125 career workshops and trainings with employers. So this is really relevant, and this really gives you an idea of the enormous amount of things that you can do and things that you can learn about when you encounter employers. And then, of course, as I was saying, we always want to focus as much as we can on the individual. So, of course, we have organized, we have individual employment guidance meetings. We have organized more than 5,000 virtual meetings in 2020 and over 500 mock interviews directly with employers, because of course we are professionals in career services, but students really also want to hear about what the companies really think of their profile. So of course the mock interviews are always sold out as soon as we promote them. And then just to give you an idea of the kind of employers we work with, I just gave you a very, very brief list of some of the top employers of international management at Bocconi. And you can see that they are basically employers for all sorts of sectors. I mean, this kind of course is, of course, a course that allows you to do virtually anything you want to do at the end of the program. So we have Amazon, we have Bain Company, we have Google, we have JP Morgan, we have L'Oreal, we have Vodafone, and there's many, many more on top of that. So just to wrap up and just to give you some food for thoughts, I would like you to consider some keywords. And of course, I would also like you to consider some dilemmas that now we are facing as both higher education institutions, career services, and we know that also the employers are facing them. So first of all, the focus is on how to make societies more resilient, more sustainable, and more inclusive. And this is, of course, the system. The job market is within a system. The job market has to go into this direction in order to make societies more resilient, more sustainable, and more inclusive. And finally, this is very, very important, the digital touch and the standardization versus the human touch and the customization. Okay, so this is something that employers are focusing on more and more, and this is something that we are also focusing on more and more. We really need to balance as much as we can one part and the other part in order to obtain the best results. And then I give you here some hints to read. So basically, World Economic Forum has some really interesting researches on the future of works and the jobs of tomorrow. And of course, the UN Sustainable Development Goals really are to be taken into consideration. And when we think about the future of the job market and the future of job profiles, and of course, there are specific studies on how multinational enterprises are working towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so I would just thank you so much for your attention. I am very, very happy to answer any questions you may have. And then I leave the floor to our host. Thank you.
Thanks, Francisca. That was extremely insightful. And as you mentioned, right, all three skills are equally important in the future. You need to have digital skills, you need to have great social communication skills, and be best prepared for the challenges and opportunities to tackle in this world. At this point, let me invite the two alums from the school to join us. So let me invite Aditya and Siddhant to join us as well. And of course, Veronica to come on board as well. And Aditya, to start with you, why don't you take us through your Bocconi experience and tell us about what you're doing currently, how your experience was at Bocconi, and how did you end up where you are currently? So I know you're in Dubai, we already discussed that, but please tell the audience about your journey pre and post Bocconi.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Sanjay, and thank you, Francesca and Veronica, for giving me the opportunity to once again come here at our Bocconi seminar and talk to prospective candidates and graduates. So I've had quite a traditional and maybe slightly boring start to my education. I did my computer science and engineering degree like all Indian students. I then worked for a couple of years in India with America Online and Accenture. And then when I decided it was time to try something different, I attended one of the seminars like you are doing back in 2010, where one of the alumni back then gave us a very encouraging talk on how the master's program at Bocconi is. I also came to know that Bocconi had partnerships with the Indian Institutes of Management for the postgraduate programs. And that really inspired confidence for me in the Bocconi brand, because a lot of us in India hear about universities in the UK and US, but Bocconi is definitely a jewel in Europe that a lot of us are not naturally aware of. But once you do arrive at Bocconi, you realize the opportunities that await you. So I decided to give it a shot. I got a scholarship at Bocconi, which is again, one of the things that motivated me. Bocconi has a number of scholarships for students, both merit and other scholarships that are available. And I applied for the Masters in International Management program. I did that between the years of 2011 and 2013. One of the things that I can say about the International Management program is that you're gonna have a class of international students from all over the world. I had friends from the US, from Canada, from parts of Europe, from Turkey, literally all over the world. It was a melting pot of different cultures, something that I hadn't experienced while studying in India, because naturally, we still lack that sort of multicultural experience. We do have a lot of people from different parts of our own country, but not necessarily from abroad. So that was a really good change. Access to some of the best faculty. We've got professors at Bocconi who are, who've had experiences all over the world. We had faculty from the US, from different parts, and I think that's something that we would never get had we not been at Bocconi. The case study methodology was a big change. I think Francesca mentioned about application-based learning. I really enjoyed that at business school. And one of my motivations for doing international management was I lacked the business administration and financial knowledge, which I didn't have. We do technical degrees in India, but we certainly lack the necessary management, economics, and financial skills. So I took some fantastic courses at Bocconi in corporate finance, economics, and management, and there's a lot of variety to choose from. It's like a candy shop that you can pick and choose, and you can plan your own course. That was really fantastic. The other thing, again, with international management, aside from a lot of social interactions that we had back then, we didn't have COVID, so we worked hard, but we also partied hard in Milan. It's a fantastic city, and that's certainly something that you enjoy. You do also have different exchange opportunities, right? So there is exchange opportunities with a lot of other universities that you can do for a short-term basis. There is dual degree programs with the IMs, which Indian students can't, but then Indian students have the option of other universities abroad. And then there's also the SEMS program, which is the Community of European Management Schools. You have 30 plus schools that you can decide to do an exchange program with and it's like a dual degree with SEMS. So I did that with London School of Economics. And that's how, after finishing my degree at Bocconi, I took up a job in London with PricewaterhouseCoopers as a cyber risk advisory consultant. My background in computer science and engineering and my management degree sort of helped me land that role. And one of the benefits, again, of studying in an international university like Bocconi is that you have such a wide access to resources and career services. So I had the benefit of both the Bocconi career services as well as the LSE career services, and that really helped me in my job search. And I actually had a job with PwC 6 months before graduating. So I had a full-time role with them, which was great. The other thing about the SEMS program specifically is that you also have the option to do business projects with companies, and or you can choose to do an internship, right? So that's again something fantastic. That's part of the program. Helps you build your network, helps you get some real hands-on experience before you transition into a corporate role, for those of you who've not had work experience before. And again, that all adds to your experience. So all in all, I think summarizing for me, one of the reasons I chose Bocconi was it was a different experience altogether from a cultural perspective. I loved Europe. I wanted to have a wider cultural experience than just going to the US or the UK that traditionally tend to be hotspots for Indian students. And I have no regrets. I really enjoyed my time in Europe. I had a fantastic set of friends and faculty that enjoyed my time with, build a network of friends for life, and then transitioned into a corporate role. And since then, I today lead the business for IBM in the Middle East for cybersecurity services. So I'm an associate partner here with IBM now. It seems like a long time. It's almost been 10 years 11 years actually, since I walked into the halls of Bocconi. But I hope to visit Bocconi again sometime soon. And I wish all of you the best in your application process and in your search for the right university for your postgraduate program. Thank you.
Thanks, Aditya. That's wonderful and very insightful to the audience as well, to understand how pathways open up, right? You go to a particular school, you do exchange, maybe you leverage resources from both the places, and consequently find your next opportunity and build a global career. So very, very interesting over there. Let me also get Siddhant into the picture over here. And Siddhant, if you can take us through your journey as well. And
of course. Thanks, Aditya. So quite similar to my journey, I started maybe a couple of years later. Everything is exactly what I would say, apart from the fact that I went there to be an entrepreneur. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So one of the reasons why I chose Europe is that my family business did a lot of, we do a lot of export, and a lot of our buyers were based out of Spain, Germany, Italy, of course, England. That's the main reason initially when I was younger, I would say post-graduating college, is why I shortlisted Europe. My first preference was doing the SEMS program. I really wanted to do a double degree because I wanted to do a degree in finance and another one in entrepreneurship. And post giving my GMAT, I got through ISADE in Barcelona, and I also got through Milan as my SEM university. So I was super happy about Bocconi. Uh, just to tell you, sum up my experience in Bocconi, I went there at the latter half of my program. So I did the last 6 months in Bocconi. Most of my closest friends that I've made that I'm still in touch with, some of them are working associates now, are based in Italy or Germany, so Milan or Berlin. I was very lucky to meet them in Bocconi, and I'm still lucky to have them around 10 years later. Um, the one thing that I'd say was different between Isade and Bocconi was Bocconi made me a little bit more streamlined. So Isade was all about thinking out of the box, right? Like coming up with super fun ideas on startups that you could think of 10 years ago. But Bocconi is actually where we ended up kind of streamlining our thoughts, coming into groups and kind of creating like the seed of the idea, business plan, right? And that's what at least I worked on. Post coming back from Bocconi, I stayed in Spain for 6 months, and I moved back, and I've been an entrepreneur since then. I've been working now for 7.5 years. Uh, I started a chain of restaurants in Delhi NCR again. I was motivated after my love of food in Italy, and COVID, of course, was hard for us. And that point, we pivoted to a CPG brand. The brand's called Master Chow. We're backed by some really nice venture capitalist funds. More recently, we closed around $2.5 million, and we're taking the brand hopefully near you all soon. But again, like the reason why I mentioned all of this is that the first 5 years I was in a different industry, and in 2020 when COVID struck, we pivoted, and that like it's really easy to give up and quit, right? And that's what I keep thinking, that it would be really easy in 2020 to shut shop, and I have some interesting degrees to find a job. But like what I learned back in my time in Spain and in Bocconi is what you persevere, right? Like, I see that a lot in a lot of European colleges, that you always find a way to kind of pivot uh, and make something interesting come out in the end. So super grateful. I think that's about it. Overall, I had a great experience throughout the 2 years. Um, I'll be honest, it's been 10 years. I don't remember much, but I remember the food, the drinks, and the lovely people I met in Bocconi and in Milan. So super happy to have that experience.
I'm quite sure. I've been to Milan a couple of times myself. It's amongst my favorite cities in the world. Extremely lively, extremely beautiful, and such a historical city to walk around, travel, and explore the place. So really great to hear that. And Aditya, Siddhant, and Francisco, all three of you spoke about the STEMS program. I've shared the school list, the STEMS member school list in the chat window with the audience because they would be very curious to know about it and know about how they can study at such partner schools and get such an experience. But let me invite Veronica now, and if she can take us through the various program choices available at Bocconi, then the audience may be better informed to take the conversation ahead. So over to you, Veronica.
Thank you. Sure. Very quickly, because I saw there were also two questions about that. Today, with Aditya and Siddhant and Francesca, we talked mainly about the International Management Program, which is, of course, one of the flagships programs at Bocconi, together with the Master of Science in Finance, ranked among the best in the world by the Financial Times and also by the QS. Of course, Bocconi in the years have been widening the number of subjects and specialization of our offer, specifically because the job market was asking that. So that's why more and more programs are sprinkled with data science, with coding, cyber risk, innovation and technology, So besides the historical and traditional subjects like finance and management offered by Bocconi, we try to implement it with the data science and also political science subjects. And very, very lately, basically tomorrow, we will launch a new Master of Science in Transformative Sustainability, which is a joint degree with Politecnico of Milano, so mixing engineering and business skills, again, to meet what the job market, the consulting companies and multinationals are asking us in terms of skills and knowledges for our students. I saw a few questions about admissions. Oh, sorry, just for you to know, the programs are all 2-year programs. As you heard from Aditya and Siddhant, the programs also allow for exchanges, for double degrees, or special opportunities like CHAMS. So coming to Europe is really an enriching experience to spend also 2 years in 2 countries, 2 languages, 2 cultures, 2 types of foods and landscapes. Any internship is also compulsory, and for that, Francesca explained very well what all the activities and the support we do, from individually to all the classes to our students to become successful managers, are like the 2 examples, Aditya and Siddhant, that we have today. In order to apply to all our programs, we have a few elements that are compulsory, that are GMAT or GRE, and let's say more quantitative elements together with the GPA, so your academic transcript. To be honest, at the master level, I see more and more, let's say, the more qualitative side of the evaluation being more and more important. Your CV, and most importantly, your personal statement. Why you want to study this subject? What you want to do with these studies? What is your final goal? Let us understand why you are motivated to work hard and what is the goal, the result that you want to achieve. Because if you start doing that during university, you are convinced and sure you're going to do it also in your professional life. And I think Aditya and Siddhanta can confirm what I'm saying. It's a process, you know? There are several application sessions for Bocconi. At the moment, if any of you is interested in coming here in September 2022, we still have 2 applications open until late May, okay? So if you already have a GMAT in your hand, or you plan to do it before that date, you are very much welcome to apply. You can apply specifically to the new program in Transformative Sustainability or to any of the up to 5 of all the programs that I mentioned before, ranking them. Again, I can't remember, Aditya, from your file if you chose just international management when you applied or you chose other courses.
My first choice was actually finance, but I got selected for IM.
Not too bad, I think. Of course, they are. I mean, the good chance of selecting more programs allow you also to be admitted to maybe something that was your second choice at first, but it proved to be successful, Aditya.
I agree.
The last information. Oh, yes, sorry, Sanjay.
Go ahead, Veronica.
No, I just wanted to provide the last information that was related to financing. Aditya mentioned merit scholarship. Basically, when students submit the application for admission, the special committee that includes also the Dean of International Affairs and the Dean of the Graduate School take care of the evaluation for merit scholarship that can cover 100% of tuition fees or 50%. Bocconi has been making a great investment also because of what's happening in the world. We have new funds for the Eastern European countries or for South African students. So we're really trying. Also, thanks a lot to our donors, alumni, companies, and multinationals supporting us with 38 million euros contributed to support our students.
All right, this looks great. So basically, a candidate can apply to multiple programs and you give a first preference, give a second preference, and then get admitted to the one which is most suitable, which the school finds a spot and finds the most suitable for the candidate as well. Aditya, you said you applied, your first preference was a MSc in finance, but you ended up in the international management program, and that experience turned out to be brilliant, I can see.
No, absolutely. I think in hindsight, it was probably the right choice. Maybe destiny sometimes makes the right decisions for you.
Or in your case, possibly the school made the right decision for you as well. But very, very interesting. Let me ask one question. So I saw we will talk about admissions a little more and in a bit. One thing was around the tuition fee. So 14,000 euros for the first year. I'm guessing second year would be around similar, so around 28, 30,000 euro in tuition fee, which tends to be on a fairly reasonable side compared to studying in North America or other parts of Europe as well at times. So, and plus around 1 in 4, so 25% of the cohort ends up getting some sort of scholarship. Aditya, I know this was a long time ago, but if you don't mind sharing, what percentage of scholarship had you ended up with at that time?
So I actually got a full scholarship with Bocconi, and that actually helped me even when I went to LSE. I didn't have to pay a dime at LSE apart from my living costs. So I think that absolutely Bocconi invests a lot in the students, and there are a number of scholarships. There are need-based scholarships for students. If your family income is below a certain amount. So there I would say it was one of the reasons that motivated me to apply to Bocconi, because there were so many options available for financial aid. And that really helps. You also get a discount on, if you have a need-based scholarship, you also get a discount on your residence and accommodation. So if you are staying in a Bocconi residence, even on that, you get like a 50% discount. So that's amazing. And Bocconi has some really modern residence apartments. In fact, I found my residence in Bocconi a lot more modern than some of the apartments in London when I moved across. So I think students will really find that interesting. The other thing I think I forgot mentioning, but also in terms of, I think you can see Veronica's screen, there's a new building and a facility that Bocconi has definitely created. And I'm sure there are a lot of different, again, world-class options available over there. While I was studying at Bocconi, our classes are fantastic. They've just gone up another level. There are a lot of sports options as well. I used to play water polo quite a lot in Milan. And I think it's not just the studies at university, but there's so many other avenues and options for you to make sure that you're spending your time well and you're doing enough like extracurricular activities. So all in all, I think Bocconi is definitely a choice you would never regret. The only thing I do want to say for Indian students is that, as Indians, we do require visas in Europe when we do want to work. And that was the case for me, even in the UK, or if I did take a permanent role in Europe. So that is something you have to work hard on. Obviously, the university will support you, whether you go on exchange to any university or even at Bocconi, there are career services helping you with that. But it also means you have to make some concerted effort from your side, because we are non-European nationals. So that is the only thing that I feel you will have to work hard on to make sure that if you do get a job and a role, that you do plan with your employer with regards to the work permits and the visas that need to get sorted.
Interesting. And Siddhant, you studied in Spain and Italy both, right? You were at SRD in Barcelona and you studied at Milan, studied Bocconi. So any different experiences across these two countries? Which one did you enjoy more, if I were to ask you that?
That's a tough question. I'd have to say Spain. I'll be honest, why it's because the first experience I had, right? Like I just moved there from India, right? So the first 6 months when you're moving to a new country, you're trying to explore it, right? But when I did move to Bocconi, which is a year and a half later, is when I experienced like I was slightly more, I would say, mature, right? And I met people, or I surrounded myself with people that made me make good career decisions. I would say between the two schools, Bocconi had the better professors, a better curriculum. As I did my finance in Spain, I did my international management exchange through Bocconi. So I was exposed to a lot more, I would say, like business curriculum, which was missed out in my years in Spain. As he mentioned, the career services were great. I did manage to get an internship through the Bocconi career services. The activities were great, but overall, both the countries, I had a fantastic time. What I can take back, or what I can look back after 10 years, since I've been back now for like 8, is are the friends I made and I'm still in touch with. And I speak to most of my professors. I've connected with them. I'm still connected with them on LinkedIn. I still pitch ideas, as I was mentioning. I run a CPG brand, so a consumer D2C online brand. And just to give you an example, the online space, or selling products online is a lot more advanced, or was, I won't say a lot more advanced, but happened much earlier in Europe than it did in India, right? So I get to pick their brains on certain things that they're slightly ahead of the curve with, even now, 7 years later. So I really appreciate, I still appreciate that.
Any language barriers that either of you faced, right? Because one hesitation that we hear from a lot of the Indian students is going to a non-English dominated country as such, and if there are any challenges in communicating with the local community, if you're communicating with the other students, any challenges that you face in language, terms of language barriers?
I think that's a part of the experience, right? Like, you go there to push yourself a bit, try to speak a new language or try to understand a new language, right? So for me, going to Spain was much harder than moving to Italy, because I was already used to people talking in different languages, right? And you find your way, you find your way through. Everyone, of course, speaks English. Both these colleges, the programs are taught in English. All professors have a great command over the language. All your students are English speaking, or have like English as their second language. So for me, it was interesting. I still feel there are a lot of learnings there, trying to kind of how Francesca was mentioning before, right? Like a human element. You learn from these experiences, right? Trying to understand what other people or people around you feel without speaking the language that they're opting for. So yeah, I would say no, it wasn't a barrier at all.
Yeah, and I think from my side, the only suggestion I'll give students is to come in with an open and growth mindset. I think when I initially came in, I was trying to survive with English, and I think maybe that was the wrong approach, because at university, certainly everyone will speak English, but I think if you really want to have a great experience and you want to really assimilate within the culture, you should learn the language and make an effort to learn the language. And in hindsight, I feel that's why my Italian isn't anywhere good as it needs to be. In hindsight, I wish I had spent some more time learning Italian, because that really helps you break barriers. And it's certainly, when you meet, obviously when I meet Italians anywhere in the world today, and I mentioned Bocconi, I think there's an automatic connect. It's also a university that they really respect and value. So it's a brand name that you carry with yourself anywhere that you go. I had a client meeting just a couple of days ago here in Dubai, and one of the directors on the opposite side was a lady from Italy. And when I did tell her that I'd studied at Bocconi, again, she was wowed, that you've been to such a prestigious university and college. So it has a very, very strong brand name across Europe. And again, the network that you build, the people that you meet are for life. So go in with an open mindset, try and learn, try and assimilate the culture. And all in all, you're going to come out as a much better individual on the other side by the end of the course than some of the people who take a much safer approach, right? So that's my suggestion.
Very interesting. Francesca, I'm going to bring you in over here. And you did speak about some employment numbers, some recruiters at Bocconi. But if you were to talk about the percentage employment, say 3 months post program, 3 or 6 months post program, do you have any statistics around that?
We can say that virtually all of the graduates from our programs are working at the end of within a few months of the program. I mean, we have amazing statistics even for the last year, which was a challenging year for our students. So I mean, I would like to say that, of course, the statistics that we have are very, very strong. So let's say 98% of international management graduates have a job 1 year after they graduate. And of course, the missing 2% could be those that have made different career choices. So of course, this is an amazing result that we have, and we hope to be able to keep up with these excellent figures, excellent numbers, even though of course we are facing a disruptive moment in the job market in general.
True, fair. So thank you for sharing that. And now I'm going to pick up some audience question, and I think Veronica, you have already responded to a lot of those, but I still want to take up some from the audience for the benefit of others. So this was a question which was asked by Jassim Jalil. He was asking about the minimum work ex requirement for the MBA program and for the MSc Master's program. So minimum, yeah.
While for MSc programs, we would, let's say, prefer students with no more than 2 years of work experience to make the class group more coherent. Let's say for MBAs, we usually suggest at least 4 to 5 years of work experience for the same reason, because the group is a bit more adult and experienced, and working together would be different.
So fair. So maximum 2 years for master's program and at least 4 to 5 years for an MBA program, which is a little different from other schools where the average tends to be around 5 years. So I'm guessing Bocconi's average is much higher than 5. Would that be correct?
Sorry, I didn't hear you well.
The average work ex at Bocconi would be, for the MBA program, it would be much higher than 5. Would that be correct?
It can be, yes, much higher. So people who are my age, basically.
Okay, so interesting. And this was a question which was asked by Ardab about the college, right? About the undergraduate college. So does one have to come from a really stellar tier 1 undergrad institution with really strong scores? Or are you okay seeing candidates with good GMAT score, good profile, but maybe a tier 2, tier 3 college?
This is exactly it, dear Sanjay. So absolutely, there is no judgment in the university background. Of course, we're looking at the grades. The GMAT allows us to compare students coming from very different background, countries, teaching and learning systems, or type of degree. We are, let's say, welcoming more and more students from engineering, from STEM subjects, but even from the humanities, because much of the experience with us is working together, which is actually the reality of the everyday working world, working with different cultures and languages, and knowledges and skills, and making the most of what you have in your group. So absolutely, let's say it's really independent from the college they come from. We want to see motivation. We want to see, of course, let's say, strong academic profile.
All right. So your UG institution doesn't matter as much, but what you have done, what kind of profile you have built, how strong is your application, how strong are your GMAT GRE score, those matter more than the UG institution that you come from. So Arnav, I hope that answers your question. I think you've answered most of the other questions there already. You can find them in the answered tab of the Q&A window. So most have been answered, but these were the key ones which I wanted to take up. So we have spoken about the admission criteria, which is GMAT, GRE, your personal statement, academics, and CV. That plays a role for your merit scholarships as well. So I think we have taken most of the questions as well. And I know Aditya had to drop off for another meeting. He's in Dubai, so there are still 2 hours, 2.5 hours behind us in time compared to India. So it's still a work day for him. So he had to drop off. And I know Siddhant has to drop off as well. I'm sure busy day. Let me take one last question, which is from, again, Jassim Jalil. He's asking how long can they stay in Europe post completion of their program for the job hunt? Is there an upper limit, Francisca or Veronica, if you want to address this, on what is the duration of that postgraduate work permit or the time they get in Europe for the job hunt?
Veronica, do you have?
Yes, so basically after graduation, students have a 1 year visa extension to get a full job. So in that year, they have time to do internship or to look for a proper job in order to make their visa a work visa. Of course, the example of Aditya was a bit different because he was in UK. Continental Europe is different also in terms of visa and the Schengen. So with the visa to Italy, students can travel freely to Spain, France, Germany, not to UK. So that is the main point. And also in terms of jobs. What I also know, but also Francesca can confirm, is that a Bocconi alumnus is forever a Bocconi alumnus, and all alumni have a dedicated career service, advisory, job search, and also, let's say, coaching. Am I right, Francesca?
Absolutely, yes. So I would confirm that when you are doing your master's program, as our guests mentioned beforehand, actually you are able to work. There are some, so for example, the second year of the program is very flexible, and you can tailor make your own study plan in order to start doing some work experience. Because of course, as Veronica was mentioning, our students have a compulsory internship in order to graduate, and of course, if you are wishing to stay in Europe and do your internship there, you are able to do an internship over in Europe for the time, in the period that you are a student. There are some specific rules, but that is absolutely very, very common. On top of that, I would say, yes, absolutely, as Veronica was saying, we have an amazing network of employer, of partnerships with employers. I mean, we work with lots of employers throughout the world. So basically, we of course must consider that once you are a Bocconi alumnus, you actually have the chance via the Bocconi community to network and to continue and in your job search throughout your future years, so as a professional as well. And of course the network is is worldwide, so it's not just specifically for European opportunities, but the opportunities that are offered to Bocconi students, to Bocconi graduates, and later on to older alumni, so professionals, is actually throughout the world. So I mean, you can virtually find job opportunities wherever you are you're interested in finding job opportunities specifically.
And you also have an Asia Center based in Mumbai. So I know you run a program out of the Bocconi Asia Center runs a program out of Mumbai as well. But you do have on-ground resources in India and in the rest of the world. So if any of the Indian candidates want to return and find employment within India, so does the school's career services facilitate that as well? Is there support available for that as well?
Well, I would say this is very typical experience that we see that international students at Bocconi have, in the sense that very, very many international students from various countries actually decide to their master's program at Bocconi and then go back to their home country in order to work. So this is very, very common, and of course we support them in this decision, and of course we have the chance to support them as much as we can, both with job opportunities, and as I was mentioning, in certain locations we actually organize our career events and dedicated career events.
Great, so that's great to hear. I think we have answered all the questions and we are 10 minutes over time. So let me take a moment, and we still have 280 people in this room. So I think we touched a peak of 330, 340 people, and now 280 people still in the room. So I think there's extremely high interest in studying in Europe and studying at Bocconi. So the conversation has been extremely insightful. Those of you who joined us late and missed this, Bocconi is part of the STEMS network. I've posted the link to the STEMS school list in the chat window. You see some of the really interesting schools, other interesting schools also in that network. There's IIM Calcutta from India. There's Ivy Business School from Canada. There's HEC Paris on it. There's HKUST from Hong Kong. So there's some really amazing, there's NUS Singapore on it. So there's some really amazing schools as part of the STEMS network, and through the programs that Bocconi offered, you can possibly study at multiple. Besides Bocconi, you can also do a part of your program at such one of the partners institutes through STEM. So really amazing opportunities over there. So do check out the Bocconi website, do check out the program list. If you have queries, Veronica, is there an email address that the candidates can write to clarify any doubts, admission-related queries that they may have? If you can post it in the chat window, that would be great. It would really help the audience connect with you. And to the audience, I hope you found this conversation insightful. We spoke to the career services at Bocconi, we spoke to the admissions at Bocconi, we spoke to the alumni, and hope this has given you some great insight into studying in Europe and studying at Bocconi. And the email address is there in the chat window now, which is graduate.services@unibocconi.it. So if you have any queries around, further queries around studying at Bocconi, if you want to get more insights, then please do reach out to them. It would be really beneficial. They're also hosting a webinar on the MSc programs, and especially for MSc in transformative sustainability program, right? Which is run in
Exactly. We are
partnership with MIT.
actually launching it tomorrow. If any of all of you would like to be with us, and just as information from Jai, we do a series of masterclass, of graduate masterclass. The next one is next week on March 30 with Professor Ubera about data science. How to hack democracy is the title. So really interesting. And also we'll have one more sustainability mail, just for everybody who wants to keep in touch and learn more about our content.
Perfect, great. Thanks, Veronica. Thanks for sharing that. So there's a masterclass on 30th of March. There's another webinar for the new program in transformation and sustainability, which Bocconi is launching in partnership with MIT. So if you are looking to get more insights in the school, do attend those sessions. And if you have any queries, then do feel free to reach out to the email address which Veronica has already shared. I'm going to repost it for everyone's benefit. Thank you, Francisca. Thank you, Veronica, for taking out the time to interact with us and the audience. It has been extremely insightful, and thank you for doing this. And thank you to the audience as well for being so patient and listening to us throughout this session. Thank you for attending today's session.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ciao, arrivederci a Milano. Bye bye, everybody.
Have a great evening, everyone. Take care. Bye. Bye.